Hi folks, it's Andy. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. Okay, so here we are for another week of fantastic questions. We've got plenty for you today. We're going to jump to them in just a moment. But before we do, don't forget, you know the YouTube magic, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing, ring the Kendo bell. You can help somebody start Kendo today by liking, sharing, commenting on this video. Go in the comments, tell us how it's the best Kendo video you've ever seen. People did it last week. And since doing that, 107 people started Kendo probably from seeing that. Yeah, because people that wouldn't have seen Kendo, known about Kendo, were searching away in YouTube, maybe something similar, sort of periphery on the edge of not quite Kendo, but something similar. And it came up. And they thought, Kendo looks amazing. And they started Kendo thanks to you guys that liked, shared, subscribed, commented how brilliant a Kendo video last week's video was. 107 people probably started for that. So let's do it again. Let's try and get to 108. Yeah. Don't forget as well, support the channel, most importantly, by shopping at KendoStar.com. KendoStar.com is my website. So I would, of course, tell you how fantastic and amazing and wonderful it is and how it's the best equipment in the entire solar system. But everybody agrees with me, all right? Say every week. I'm sure that you already know by now, and you already are shopping at KendoStar, okay? Because you're smart people. You like good quality equipment. You like the best service in the business. And you like videos like this and others that are on this channel. So you shop at KendoStar.com. Okay. Right, let's get to these questions, shall we? You can tell it's like a little bit of a... It's like a long weekend. Yeah, it's a long weekend. So if any of you guys are like emailing KendoStar, by the way, it's Easter weekend in the UK. So we might be a little bit slower getting back to you. It's a public holiday today and Monday. Friday is today and Monday if you're watching this later. So we might be a little bit slower than normal getting back to your emails, but we'll do our best still. All right. But just bear with us. Okay, let's get into these questions. So first one, I think I've seen that in the West, in the UK at least, we tend to call the person at the top of the student side of the dojo the senpai, and assign them a certain responsibilities like calling out certain instructions, taking the warm-up, etc. I understand senpai is more of a general social term in Japan, so I was curious, do Japanese dojos have a separate word for this position? Something like most senior student role. Thanks. Right, well, that's a good question, and you're absolutely right. In the UK, I've seen that where, you know, you have the person who's sort of leading the warm-up or leading the suburi, sort of second in command to the sensei, as it were, often called the senpai. But in Japanese sort of culture, senpai is a generic term that can apply to multiple people. It's essentially anybody that's sort of senior to you in the hierarchy, usually someone that's older than you or been doing Kendo longer than you, something like that. In most adult dojos, for example, like they don't actually have like a set warm up and suburi like regimen before practice. Most people do it themselves and then they jump into, you know, the keiko is just an hour of jigeiko, and that's it. But in like junior dojos, kids dojos, or school clubs, stuff like that, yeah, there's usually somebody that's leading the warm up and suburi, and that's usually like usually it'd be the club captain, and they'd be referred to as the captain, in my experience. But in adult dojos where they don't do suburi and stuff like that, someone of course still does the gore, calls out the commands for the day, you know, your sort of Caesar and all that sort of thing. but I've never heard of a specific name for that role, as it were. It's just somebody that does it. So to my knowledge, there isn't a specific term for it. But they don't call them the senpai either. That's not like a senpai in Japanese, or in Japanese society is like it's a general term for multiple people. You have people who are your senpai and your kohai, and you are senpai to others, and you are kohai to others as well. So Andy, I'd love to hear more about how you keep your ready stance and how you have trained to be able to keep that ready stance during longer matches. I found that I have pain in the heel, Achilles tendonitis the morning after a good training session. It's just practice. It's finding the right balance between, being relaxed and being tense in the right way, in the right place. But I'm not like this all the time, even in my left leg that's always ready to go. It's not like proper clenched the whole time. It's relaxed but ready, if that makes sense. So there's a bit of a knack to it, a bit of a technique to it. But it's a bit like, imagine if I was sort of pushing this hand against this one. I don't know what analogy is this, but whatever, right? I can push it at any time without being always tense on it, right? That's the feeling, yeah? So I'm always able to push whenever I want. Maybe I was pushing against a door. I could push whenever I want. If I had my hand against a door, I could push it open whenever I want. But I don't have to be pressing against it the whole time. It's something akin to that, all right? It's a bit of a technique to it. Hi, Andy Sensei. I hope you and your family are doing well. I've noticed for Bogu sets that are generally more economic, no fancy bamboo door die. It's door die when it's the word is door die. Anyway, right? Door die or excessive deer skin, probably around 500 or below. You won't get much deer skin, 500 pound or below. Bogu brands designers from Japan tend to use orizashi, especially on the kote, whereas Bogu brands from outside of Japan, at least in Europe and Asia, tend to use synthetic leather on the kote. Seems like the Japanese brands like to use orizashi even on more expensive Bogu sets as well. Is there a reason behind this tendency, and what would you say is the main difference between the two types? So if you're talking about the kote, orizashi is really popular in sort of Japan because it's cheap. It's quite cheap compared to other methods of making, and even your sort of synthetic leather. And the thing is people can, and I think as well is the advantage orizashi has over synthetic leather, if anything, is that the color is a little bit better. It's a little bit, because it's izome dyed, when synthetic leather's not. So it has that nicer sort of look. And in Japan, if you're in Japan, it's easier to replace your kote than if you're out of Japan, right? So in modern Bogu sets, especially sort of cheaper ones, but even on the more expensive ones as well, there's much more of a sense of sort of disposability. Is that a word? People just chop and change them. And I have seen recently like some companies have started making really expensive Bogu sets that are still using cheap materials, which I'm not so keen on personally. I tend to use synthetic leather on the kote fists. If you look at like the Vanguard, for example, our main sort of flagship set, the whole fist of that is synthetic leather, and the futon is orizashi. It's an orizashi Bogu, but I wanted to use full synthetic leather for the fist, the kote atama, because it's more durable. It's less likely to puncture, especially as, frankly, in the West you get hit on the fists more than you do when you're in Japan. All right, so it's a little bit more durable. I think that's the main reason. There's not a huge difference between the two. Probably orizashi dries a bit faster, but it's not as durable as synthetic leather, frankly. So they're the main differences, to be honest. And that's about it. It's not a huge thing, to be fair. orizashi kote are fine as well, but I tend not to make, I don't think we've got any at the minute on KendoStar. I don't think any of our brands are full orizashi on the atama. The closest we've got is the Victory, which is half orizashi, but I've put a synthetic leather yakko on it, so it's like on the knuckle part, just to get that little bit of extra durability, because without a doubt they do full orizashi kote atama wear away faster, without a doubt. Next one. Hi Andy, I'm competing in a week's time, but I've been laid off sick for about a week and missed a lot of training. I'm not expecting to go and win anyway, but how can I make the best of the time of having the dojo between now and then to try and catch up? Well, I think the best thing you can do is just do your best at the dojo. Try to use a big voice for all your waza and really concentrate. Try and focus on the quality over the quantity, because you can't have quantity now. So just make sure that every attack that you do is definitely ippon, definitely a yuko datotsu. Okay, definitely try to do that and use the time as best you can to make that happen. Can I recommend a good set of white bogu? No, I can't. There isn't a good set of white bogu. Sorry, boys. There isn't. Undoubtedly. I mean, it's not impossible. It's not inconceivable that you could make a good set of white bogu, but you're paying 3 times the price for the same thing for a white bogu set. So you tend to find a bogu set that you're going to pay, let's say, I don't know, like a mid-range price, like say $500-600, $600-700, whatever it is these days. I know prices are going up, but you're probably looking at like between $500 to $700 for a white bogu set. And if you got that same bogu set in a indigo, like a navy aizome color set, like a normal color set, the same quality set is going to cost you like $350-400, probably something like that. Less than $500 anyway. You're going to pay a lot more for inferior quality. It's going to get messed up. It's going to get dirty. White bogu sets are not good. Sorry, they're just not good. In Japan, little children use them because they're not using them for that long. And you hardly see it anymore as well. Hardly. I can't remember the last time I saw a little kid in white bogu. And sometimes high schools or university use them as a shiai bogu. So they only use them at the shiai. They don't use them in the keiko. Yeah. Because they get messed up, they get dirty. They don't look that good. So, yeah, I'm sorry to be a little bit negative about it, but there's a reason we don't sell white bogu at KendoStar, because it's generally not very good quality stuff. And I know I've seen some cropping up. I've seen some cropping up on Facebook and what have you, where people have made these sort of custom one-off white bogu sets. See how it looks in a year's time, eh? You know, and not just that. It's not that, you know, this you're gonna pay a lot more for the inferior quality, because the fact of the matter is they can't use the same run of machines for indigo dyed bogu sets as they can for white. So they either have to strip all the machines and clean them before they make a white bogu set, or they have to use a whole different run of machines. So it's a whole massive process, and the demand's not there, right? Because it doesn't look that good either. I'm sorry, it just doesn't, right? So I just give up on the idea. Sorry. But I really don't, you know, I really do recommend against it. All right. Camera's trying to pull focus on me. We got focus. Come on. Come back into focus. Come back into focus. There we go. Okay. I think we're in. Maybe it's my eyes are blurry. Thank you for the feedback. Okay. So this is a comment that was on the feedback video that I did yesterday. And it's one of the people who obviously got the feedback, but I wanted to answer the question that they raised. So thank you for the feedback. I was the first 2 matches you showed. I will focus on sharpening up my footwork for my next shiai. Good. One clarification I wanted was on the provisional rule with separating. So based on how it was explained to me is at the tournament, you had to get to Tsubazeriai and mutually separate to Toma, and sorry, Toimai is another way to say Toma. Okay. The issue I was struggling with, and there was a lot of times you mentioned in the video where I specifically didn't fully back away, which I agree on. This mostly happened during my other matches. Was my opponents would just bump into me without getting into Super Zeri properly. A lot of the time they would push their Tsuba into my face instead of at the waist, and then they would run off without being able to do a proper mutual separation, which is why I thought I could chase them down. I'll keep in mind the separate fully, but what are your thoughts on this once again? Thanks once again. Yeah, it's really difficult, and it's really grey because competitors as well are really struggling with it too, all right? So, look, let's talk about the rule itself and then how it kind of gets a little bit messed up in matches, all right? So you're like, yeah, one of you does men, the other blocks, then you come to Super Zeri, all right? You've got one breath to do Hikiwaza between you, okay? That's like 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, no Hikiwaza, and separate, okay? And you're supposed to both separate, okay? So first thing lots of people are getting wrong is how you separate, all right? You're not supposed to separate like this. This is why there's a lot of confusion, all right? People are trying to separate like this, all right? You're supposed to, I'm just saying this is what's supposed to happen in the ideal world. From here, both push, slight push against each other, and this way. Separate in a single movement, okay? And then start again, okay? But people have a tendency to sort of do this, and I think it's sort of left over from before when you had to really watch out for Hikiwaza in that separation time. Now that being said, all right, say you're here, you start to separate, or one starts to separate, and this one doesn't separate. Okay, so this, only one separates and this one doesn't, and then goes like this. This is a hand soccer for this person, the person that didn't separate. All right, you have to both separate. So if you've been here and one starts to separate, if it's been more than 3 seconds, then you both have to separate. If this one starts to go and you're still within your 3 seconds, you still got time to do Hikiwaza. All right, yeah, pam. Okay, you can do this. This is okay. All right. But what you can't do is go like this way, okay, and then do Hikiwaza, okay? So you can't like, yeah, let's separate and then sort of trick them, yeah? It's all based on fairness, all right? It's all based on fairness, all right? So it's not really fair to go, yes, let's separate. No, we won't. I'm going to do Hikiwaza. Yeah, that's not fair, okay? Then what you're talking about though is when they'll come in this way and then it doesn't quite get to Super Zeri and they start to run out straight away. All right, and then you chase them. It's not really right either, all right? The best thing to do in this situation, all right, so they hit like this, they don't quite get to Super Zeri and they already try and run away, right, is once they get to here and they start to run away, don't chase them, just hit the Hikimen. Just hit Hikimen, all right? That's fine, that's allowed, yeah? Because you're doing it as they're starting to separate. But if you let them get more than like one step away, then it's a separation's begun then, and you're going to have to engage in that. All right. So if you don't want them to control how the separation happens, you have to make something happen first. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Now it's difficult and it's a grey zone and it's going to take experience and it's going to take practice. And it's case by case as well. And it depends on the Shimpan. Shimpan might interpret it differently. All right. Because we've all got different standards as to what we'll accept and what we won't in terms of what is fair and what isn't. Just like we do with what's a genuine ippon and what isn't. So with that in mind, it's still a case by case situation. But you know, I just wanted to raise it because there are a couple of places in that did appear to me that could potentially be flagged as handsoku in some cases. All right. So it wasn't though in your matches. All right. Because, you know, it wasn't super bad and it wasn't, you know, like I say, it's new. It's new to a lot of people too. So there's that. Okay. Next one. Hey, Andy, I just ordered my first Bogu set from KendoStar.com, the best equipment store in the galaxy. You're right. I told you. And I was wondering if there was any care tips you can share that aren't your ultimate guide to Bogu video. My sensei was telling other students to massage out the creases in the kote palms after practice. I'm just wondering if there's any other tips you had for newbies. I'm so excited to get my Vanguard V2 and stop using the club gear. Haha, thanks. Look, you're going to love the Vanguard V2. It's a great entry-level set. It's definitely going to be a lot better than your club gear. It's a really great, entry point into the Vanguard range. I think you're going to love it. You're definitely going to find a difference. Because that is an entry sort of level set, there's not a lot of maintenance or care tips it particularly needs. The main thing you need to do is get it out of the bag after practice and make sure it's dry before you use it again. All right, just make sure you get it out of the practice and let it after practice and let it dry. That's by far and away the best thing you can do for it. Okay, and yeah, after practice, when you're leaving it to dry, if you just stretch the palms open, but don't push on them. Just, if they're like this, just open them up a little bit so that air can get to them and the palms are flat and not creased, and you don't sort of leave a crease in them. And that'll be it. All right, and it'll serve you well. I'm sure you'll have a great time using it. Okay. Next one, how much shinai oil is too much? I live in a place with essentially zero humidity and shinai get pretty brittle quickly. Is there a downside to using shinai oil every few days? Similar question for the bokgen. I have a white oak bokgen. Do I need to do something to combat the dry climate? Thanks. So, no, you can do it every few days. That's fine, as long as they dry out properly before you use them, and it is keeping them sort of, keeping them hydrated, then yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all, to be honest. If it helps, in the particularly dry climate, and they do dry out, that's fine. But just do make sure they have dried out. If you want to do it every few days, I don't see a problem with that at all. In terms of the bokgen, yeah, it's probably not a bad idea to do that. The best way to do it is give it a light sand. All right, sand it a bit, give it a light sanding. Not too much, just a light sanding, give it a coat of oil, and you'll be okay. But I wouldn't do that every few days. You don't want to be sanding it down every few days. But, maybe just one, every couple of months, I think will be all right for the bokgen. All right, you don't bash them together. You shouldn't be bashing them together anyway, but, and I think that'll be fine. Okay, last one, relatively short episode today. If the ZNKR came to you and said, Andy, in recognition to your contribution to creative Bogu set names, we've decided to let you make one addition or subtraction of your choice to the regulations of the Kendo Shiai and Shimpan, what would you put in or take out? This question is brilliant on so many levels. Oh, I'm surprised they haven't commended me for, my brilliant names for the Bogu sets. We've got some pretty good Bogu names, to be fair. Let's be honest. The best Bogu names in history have sort of come from the names that I've come up with. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet here, but I've come up with some pretty good names for Bogus in the past. Let's put it that way. Anyway, right. How honestly can I answer this? I can't give you my honest answer. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to put myself on record saying it. All right, but I'll give you a different one. All right, and this is going to upset some people as well, but I don't care. I'd make it Hansoku for Nito players to strike with the shuttle. All right, I'd make that Hansoku. Because I hate it with a passion. You hit me with that shuttle, I tell you what. If there's one way you're gonna if there's one thing that grinds my gears, chaps my apple, it's when someone bashes me in the face with that little stick. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. And it's painful. And it's like, as if that's Ippon, come on. I'm not a drum kit. It does my head in so much. So yeah, I'd make it Hansoku. All right. I'd let you keep Nito, I guess. But you've got to stop hitting me with the little one. You've got to stop it. Right? Because it sucks. And it's stupid and it's dumb. And it's not Ippon. So don't do it. or you get handsuck. That's how I'd write the rules in the book. What I just said, that would be written verbatim in the actual rule book. All right. Okay. We'll end on that. So yeah. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. If you're celebrating the Easter holidays, I hope you have a fantastic time as well, or if there's any other holidays that are going on at the same time that are appropriate to you as well, then all the best from. Hope you have a great time, and hope you get lots of Kendo in, even if there's holidays going on. Thanks for joining me. Shop at KendoStar. Stop bashing people with the shuttle, and see you next week. Bye bye.